Speedrunning, the art of playing a game as quickly as you can. Whether you want to see how far a game can be pushed, or find what limits of your own can be broken, or just to have a good, fun time. Regardless, the sweet taste of victory tastes ever so sweet, while the stinging feeling of defeat only motivates you to give it your all even more. Failure may mean having to start from the beginning, mind you, but considering that this is an art of speed, what have you got to lose? A category like Kirby's Dreamland Any Percent will likely only take you about 10 to 15 minutes, and even some of the longer runs like Kirby and the Amazing Mirror 100% are only slightly above an hour. Then you look at the length of some of these runs and wonder, who has 5 hours to spare on a game like Kirby Star Stacker? A common misconception many people have about speedrunning is that all speedruns are speedy quick. And while it's true that the end goal of every speedrun is to be as fast as possible, that does not at all mean that they're all fast. But, I mean, there's no way this would apply to Kirby of all things, right? I mean, sure, like an RPG or something maybe, but Kirby games, they're simple and accessible games that are fun for all. There wouldn't be so much to do that it would take very long to— I already said Star Stacker took over 5 hours. There's no build up here. Kirby games are nuts. As I hope you know from the title of the video, we'll be counting down the 10 longest Kirby speedrun categories of all time. I think all of these categories, as well as all of the games involved, are all super neat. I want to highlight that long speedruns not only exist, but are also really cool. I'm going by the world record times on speedrun.com as my metric, minus category extensions, so if a category doesn't have a time on speedrun.com, I'm not going to count it. It just makes everything easier to manage. I understand that this video is going to be outdated because of that, but hey, it's a speedrunning video. These are all going to be outdated someday, you know? I am also including Kirby spin-offs on this list, so when we get to number 1 and you see that Kirby Slide is the longest Kirby speed game, don't be surprised. Okay, if you're curious, the Kirby Slide speedrun is like— I don't remember. Lastly, if you enjoy lists like these, or you just think that speedrunning is super neat, please consider giving this video a like and ringing the notification bell after subscribing. If you enjoy longer categories, please consider watching this video from start to finish, as much time is really important for YouTube's algorithm. Please also consider supporting me on Patreon, link in the description, which nets you some super cool perks, including the ability to see nifty videos like this one 2 days early. Super duper big thank you to my head-patting Fluffle fan Pup Trends, Dips Fiora, Biohazard, and remember, Miss K says do your homework. I love you guys! Was that long enough? Get it? Because it's long and it's long speedruns. It's a joke. Do you get it? Number 10. Kirby's Return to Dreamland for the Nintendo Wii. Kirby Master. World record by Shiro Kirby. 5 hours, 42 minutes, 20 seconds. Yep. We just started this list and already we have a game whose speed run takes longer than some part-time shifts. And the funny thing is, there isn't that much to do here. You're just getting hundo by getting hundo and then getting hundo again while also getting hundo. And, I mean, that's it. Oh, of course, if we're speaking in English, I mean that you clear both the normal and extra mode 100% while also beating both the arena and the true arena. But, like, seriously, that's it. The arena modes are self-explanatory. We've all experienced a boss rush in our life before, and if you haven't, I'm sorry, but clearing the normal and extra modes 100% is a bit more involved than simply getting all of the energy spheres. You also need to clear the challenge stages, and you gotta beat the game too, I guess. Return Hundo is one of my personal favorite Kirby speed games, and while doing it twice back-to-back isn't the most efficient use of my time, I think it is really neat that you can still get the Kirby Master cutscene and experience fully completing the game in under 6 hours, especially since it's going to take most people much longer than that. Trust me, these games, they get very long. One final note to make, I don't want to spend too much time on this point specifically, it could take over the entire video, is that we're specifically talking about the single player mode here. The world record is only about 3 years old, so it isn't so old it uses nothing but outdated strats and stuff, but shifting gears to multiplayer sees the world record time drop by over 20 minutes. A fair few Kirby games wind up having longer run categories than this if we opt for that, so I figured I should mention, yeah, another requirement, single player only. You wouldn't think it would make a huge difference, but if you see my video about rubber bands, you will know how life-changing multiplayer is. And yes, I'm serious about, well, both of them, but specifically, rubber bands changed Kirby forever. Check out that video I did. It was a really fun make, and it came out really good, so watch it. But then come back to finish this one. We've got a long way to go. Number 9! Kirby Canvas Curse. 100% world record by Wakaza. 5 hours, 45 minutes, 8 seconds. All right, now we are talking. Channel familiars know that I love Canvas Curse, but I haven't talked much about what it takes to fully complete it. It's actually really simple. All you need to do is collect every medal. Yeah, no, that's it. When you do that, the game says, all clear, like you finished a surgery or something. Way to go, here's your diploma. And then you get this cute blue background, and hey, the run is over, nice. Not much to say in that regard, but what do you actually need to do to collect all of these medals? Well, oh boy, hold on. Let me just take some deep breaths. If you played Canvas Curse, you know I gotta. Clear the game with Kirby, clear the game with Waddle Dee, clear the game with Mennonite, clear the game with Dedede, clear the game with Waddle Doo, collect every medal in every level, of which there are 3, clear all the difficulties of the boss games, get the medal you find in the gold game, clear the speed challenges for every level, clear the ink challenges for every level, clear the speed challenges for the ability challenge stages, clear the ink changes for the ability challenge stages, and unlock everything in the medal swap. And you're telling me this is only number 9? Canvas Curse, any percent, that's not terribly long. Only clocks in and about an hour looking at Wakaza's world record. And it would take a bit less time with other characters like Mennonite. Oh my god, sure, it would take longer with somebody like Dedede, but not so much longer that the entire run is dominated by any percent. Jeez. It may be the bulk of it, sure, but those challenge stages are by far the most interesting part. Oh, well, the ink challenge at least. Go fast is something that you're already doing, but going fast while using minimal ink, that requires a lot more strategy than, my name is Kirby Soldier, and I like to speed. We're still under 5 hours, which is going to change pretty soon, get ready, but that doesn't make this any less beefy of a category, especially since, to move fast, you need to draw a loop for Kirby to move through. Probably should have mentioned that before with the whole speed. It's very easy to mess this up. It may not look it, but once you're actually playing the game and needing to watch out for everything, it's easy to mess up. One last fun fact before I move on, though. The world record actually used to be just over 8 hours and 45 minutes, but Wakaza is completely insane and optimized the game so hard, he saved just over 3 full hours. If not for him, Canvas Curse Hundo would have been number 4. Yeah. Wait a minute, just under 9 hours isn't even in the top 3? What even is Kirby speedrunning? Number 8! Kirby Star Allies, Crown Percent, world record by Crafty Gamers 411, 5 hours, 57 minutes, 36 seconds. Alright, before we delve deep into what makes Kirby Star Allies nearly a 6-hour speedrun, we need to clear up a misconception. One that's been plaguing the Kirby community for centuries. It's not that old. Decades. Still not that old? 1 decade. Still not that old? I don't know, half a decade? Oh, hey, look, Star Allies turned 5 years old this year. Rad. Anyway, one that's been plaguing the Kirby community for half a decade. One that will change your worldview forever. The sub-games, technically, they're necessary, but you only need to place 3rd or higher in order to get Hundo. You don't need to actually beat them. I know, it's sad. I cried too. Okay, for real though, I always found the idea that Star Allies was a game with not a lot of content kind of funny. Sure, a decent chunk of stuff was added via free updates, but even just looking at the speedrun for do everything enough, there's still a lot here. You're not clearing guest Star Allies or the ultimate choice with every character, you're still just doing it once, but barely scraping under 6 hours for everything in a speedrun, that's still a lot. Specifically, aside from placing third in these highly controversial sub-games, you need to collect all of the big puzzle pieces, hit all of the switches, beat guest star allies once, get an S rank in Heroes in Another Dimension, and beat Soul Melter EX, which requires you to beat a few other of the Ultimate Choice modes. There's a lot that needs to be done here, but aside from needing to clear the main story first, the order you do things in is really up to you. There are some restrictions, and Soul Melter EX will basically always be what gets done last, or the minigames. Why do I keep bringing these up? But the variety of content here will help keep things fresh. There's just a lot to do, and while it takes a while to get done, the 6 hours in speedrunning time, holy moly, it feels fresh and exciting. After the main game anyway, it's still stylized. What do you expect? A regular 100% playthrough, as in just the story mode, guest star, and a regular Soul Melter, and the minigames, joke's dead after this, don't you worry, takes a bit over 3.5 hours, so believe me when I say that the updates added a lot of content. 3.5 hours is beefy, don't get me wrong, but over 2 hours get added thanks to the DLC. Granted, a part of that is because of Star Allies load times. They sure are Star Allies load times, huh? But it's still a beefy category. There is actually a Switch Kirby game that also has a very long 100% category though, but that one has really good load times. Which one? Well, number 7! Kirby in the Forgotten Land, 100% world record by Poka, 6 hours, 11 minutes, 20 seconds. Unlike Star Allies, this one shouldn't come as a big surprise to most people. Forgotten Land is rather infamously filled to the brim with unlockable content. There's clearing the game, getting all 300 Waddle Dees, all 300 pieces of Leon's Soul, clearing every treasure road, getting maximum copy abilities, unlocking and upgrading every copy ability in the game, collecting every single figure, clear every cup in the Coliseum, and getting every photo on the wall in Kirby's house. To get every photo, there's a lot of repeated info, but for the stuff I haven't already mentioned, you need to clear all 3 of the gigs at the Waddle Dee Cafe, catch the big one in the pond, and beat all 3 levels of Kirby Not Tilt and Tumble. You don't have to beat the bonus games though, so while that will make most people happy, that's a bit of a bummer for me because seeing people rage at that is honestly really funny. Forgotten Land is an absolute joy to play, and while the speedrun is no exception, we've officially broken the border of a quarter of a day. That's a lot of time and dedication, and while Forgotten Land, totally worth every second, I struggle to stay awake longer than 6 hours. I have written on my script after a work shift, but honestly, in general, I just have a really hard time staying up longer than that. And I know I'm not alone on this one. Hundreds of sleep-starved video gamers everywhere lament their lost days to the endless void of Forgotten Land content, so I'm sure you could all relate. But similar to Star Allies, main story stuff is not the bulk of the category. It doesn't even clock in at 2.5 hours. Yeah, less than half the run, almost a third of it, is the main game. Forgotten Land just has a lot of content with a lot of variety. Routing is extremely important here because of that. You don't want to visit the blacksmith Waddle Dee too many times, for example, because every time you need to walk in and out and sit through load screens. Mind you, these are very short load screens because Forgotten Land is so incredibly paced, but for the sake of a speedrun, you really want to make do with as little as you can for as long as you can, if that makes any sense whatsoever. This results in an ability upgrade dump at the very end, and while I'm not saying that you should hoard, pitfall! It does feel super duper satisfying to spend everything at once, even if you're left with nothing afterwards. It's not like Kirby has to pay rent or everything, even though they do have a house. Forgotten Land Hundo is a fun run for so many reasons, but what helps it, compared to a lot of the other Hundo runs, especially ones that we've seen so far, is that, because it's broken down into so many pieces, practicing it winds up actually being really easy. Heh, surprise, surprise, practicing a 6-hour run is easier than practicing some 4-hour runs that I didn't get to cover for this video. Kirby speedrunning is weird, but it's fun, and Forgotten Land is fun, no matter how you decide to play it. Oh, but definitely be sure that you can use the hammer glitch to go out of bounds. Like, a lot. That's the one part of the run that I personally don't like, but hey, it's still Forgotten Land. Although there are better and longer games than Forgotten Land. Hey, you want to know what one of them is? Number 6! Kirby Planet Robobot. 100% world record by Demolition14, 6 hours, 11 minutes, 32 seconds. for what is the shortest distance between games on this list, Planet Robobot 100% is 12 seconds longer than Forgotten Land, hundo. Crazy! But what makes Planet Robobot such a long speed game? All Code Cubes, a category where you get every unlockable, barring the RNG-based stickers, takes 2.5 hours. That lands pretty similarly to Forgotten Land, but considering that Robobot only has the arena modes, Kirby Clash, 3D Rumble, and Meta Nightmare Returns for side content, what gives? None of these take that long, with Meta Nightmare being the only one that takes something that could closely resemble a long time, maybe, probably not, but squinting helps, it is bad for you. You know, I was gonna redo that take because of the whole breathing thing, but it feels more raw that way. Let's keep it. Never underestimate the power of sticker grinding. Play through 3, 5, and grind for stickers. That is it. If you're thinking, oh, RNG stickers, that can't be that bad, it amounts to 50 minutes of the run. And while 50 minutes might not sound awful, understand that almost 20% of an entire speed run is playing one level over and over, grabbing stickers along the way. It is easily the worst part of the run because otherwise, there's basically everything to love here. That makes sense. Planet Robobot is absolutely one of the best games in the series. You got getting every single code cube, that's a blast. 3D Rumble is already speed focused, and while Robobot has a very long true arena, you can zoom through it well enough. Not with Parasol, mind you. Parasol's actually really bad, but we're not gonna talk about it. Well, to make myself feel better, let's talk about Meta Nightmare Returns. I love this mode. Any game that has a Meta Nightmare in it is an easy W in my book, and this one is no different. Simply having Shuttle Loop from Return to Dreamland, which is worse than Shuttle Loop in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, mind you, and combining that with Meta Quick grants you speed and movement you'd be hard-pressed to find in any other Kirby game. The levels may not be built around Meta Knight's insanity, but it sure feels like it is sometimes with the insane strats that you can pull off. It's still not as good as Meta Knight is in Brawl, but you gotta accept harsh realities sometimes. The only harsh reality in Planet Robobot hundo, though, is that sticker grinding. 50 minutes isn't asking much when the rest of the run is so enjoyable, which is because Planet Robobot is so good, but still. But on top of that, over 6 hours, it's a lot to ask for in one sitting, and like with every other game on this list, I don't blame anyone for being intimidated by the length. I at least think going for all code cubes and or Meta Nightmare Returns is a good call, because I really can't stress enough just how fun those modes are. The former is on the slightly longer end, but lets you experience the prime joy of Planet Robobot, while the latter is a truncated experience that rewards you for knowing how well you can zoom through levels and bosses. But would you believe me if I said that there was a game very similar to Planet Robobot that takes even longer? It's true. Number 5! Kirby Triple Deluxe, 100% world record by Shiro Kirby, 6 hours, 34 minutes, 41 seconds. Okay, it doesn't take that much longer, only about 20 minutes, which is not bad, but here's a case of second verse same as the first. Or vice versa, Triple Deluxe came out first, I don't know, script writing is weird. Anyway, at face value, there's a lot of similarities between these two games. There's a main story to complete, a bonus mode with a secondary character, 2 side modes, and 2 arena modes. You even need to get RNG collectibles too! Yay! You zip through the sticker grind with Wing instead of Hammer, but you wind up spending more time in Triple Deluxe's keychain grind compared to Robobot's sticker grind. Hammer faster than Wing, confirmed? The key difference between Triple Deluxe hundo and Planet Robobot hundo is the main ability of use. In Triple Deluxe, the best ability is fairly handily Fire, while in Robobot, your friendship ended with Fire and now Jet is your best friend. This doesn't drastically alter anything in terms of stats. Fire dash attack good, Jet dash attack good, but hey, they look, feel, and play differently enough. Robobot also has really good ability variety in general, including boss killers like Cutter and other level and movement focused abilities like Fire. Of course, Fire would be there. Compare that to Triple Deluxe, where you mostly see necessary abilities alongside Fire and, every once in a blue moon, Wing. The big example is Archer being used for many of the gyro-focused puzzles. There's also Day-to-Day Tour versus Meta Nightmare Returns, or Kirby Clash and 3D Rumble versus Fighters and Drum Dash, or even the Robobot Armor versus Hypernova. There's a lot of differences between the two all around, but the skeleton of these runs is still the same. This isn't a spooky, scary skeleton, but rather a small, round one. Although looking at Hypernova and the Robobot armor side by side here, one definitely ended up being slower than the other. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I absolutely hate this about Hypernova, but I didn't specifically say this time, so it's fine. It just results in 3DX being slightly longer of a run. With Triple Deluxe on here, all of the Return to Dreamland style original games have made it onto this list. I find it very interesting that, Canvas Curse aside, every single game so far either came after Return to Dreamland or is Return to Dreamland. I bring this up because while most of the games on this list are from that time frame, not all of them are, again, to bring up Canvas Curse. But there is also one more exception, and it's up next. Every game after is, like I said, during Return to Dreamland's peak dominance or Forgotten Lands. And that last exception of a game is... number 4! Kirby Air Ride. Air Ride, all tracks, all rides. World record by Luca, 6 hours, 35 minutes, 1 second. Okay, so out of all of the runs that I am talking about for this video, by far, this one is my favorite. I'll defend all of these runs no matter how long they get, and trust me, oh boy, they get long, but this is just one of my favorite speedruns of all time. It perfectly showcases how unique of a game Kirby Air Ride is in every single way, and how it's so much more than just City Trial, like how a lot of people tend to think of it. And the funny thing is, this is basically just time trials, but with every single star, or vehicle. Except for the Flight Warp Star, Hydra, and Dragoon, but look, it's Meta Knight, and Danny Day's here too, yay! What other category are you gonna see these two in? And what's this, the Formula Star? This thing that you use for drag racing because it becomes fast, but everything else about it is, like, not that good? That actually does good for itself here. I always loved the Formula Star growing up, and I'm glad this part of my childhood is actually kind of being validated. But come on, you're not gonna use the Wagon Star, right? We're using the Wagon Star. Which, fun fact by the way, statistically, that's the best regular vehicle in the whole game. I'll see a level 9 CPUs constantly fiend it every time. It's kind of funny. There are so many different strategies you get to see for all of these different stars too. Watching Air Ride any percent or Hundo or regular all tracks is always cool, don't get me wrong, but so much of it can feel like spinning into the wall with the wheelie scooter. And that's hype, you love to see it, but when you pull up with the Bulk Star or something, well, everyone's laughing because come on, it's the Bulk Star. You need to stop moving in order to move. It's so bad, right? Ha ha ha! And then you see insane strats to keep the speed without having to charge very much at all, and it just, boom, blows your mind. All in all, there is so much I could say about this run and its variety. A lot of people look at a game like Return to Dreamland any percent and see Wing plastered all over it and lament the lack of variety. I think every ability is generally interesting enough and have enough variety to them where it makes things interesting, but I look at a category like this and see exactly where people are coming from. I definitely recommend watching some runs of this, maybe even trying one out for yourself. I know whenever I come back to speedrunning Air Ride, I am grinding this category. It's just so cool. Speaking of cool, we talked about this very cool game a little bit already, kind of, but what's not so cool is the time jump. Get ready. Your best. Sorry. Number 3, Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. Kirby Master, world record by SBT Kira, 10 hours, 31 minutes, 39 seconds. What happened here? We went from a 6.5 hour run to a 10.5 hour run in just one spot. And we're still only at number 3? Also, hold on, the original Kirby Master only took a little over 5.5 hours. Now we've almost doubled that? What's changed here? There's still normal and extra hundo, as well as the arena modes, but also the new Magalore Epilogue and updated True Arena specifically, and a category that's so much fun, I made a nearly 50-minute video on it, even though I dislike the regular mode, Merry Magaland. The biggest difference here, and I'm hoping that you've noticed already if you're looking at the footage, has nothing to do with any of the actual new modes. It's the load times. The original game had excellent load times that barely even felt like they were there, whereas Return Deluxe is loaded with ones that are only slightly shorter than Star Allies. They're visually wonderful, but when your goal is to fully complete the game, you tire of them a lot quicker. Or maybe you don't. 10.5 hours is long, but not so long that the charm of these wears off. The passage of time is weird. All of that being said, unlike the original, which felt very complete after, completing it, you can skip a lot of content when going for Kirby Master here. You only need to clear 100 missions for Merry Magoland, not 120. You don't have to platinum the stages in Magolor Epilogue. You don't need to max out any of your stats in Magolor Epilogue. You don't need to get platinum, gold, or even silver and bronze for the challenge stages, just like the original. You can use items in the arena modes. You can skip certain music tracks. Basically, Kirby Master is anything but Kirby Master, which to me is a problem in and of itself. In fact, it might make this my least favorite run of the entire list, but it's not what we're talking about here. The unrestricted run is also technically currently longer, sitting at over 14 hours, holy moly, but I'm making a bit of an exception to the rule here, as all of the tools you gain access to do nothing but make the game faster. Extra controllers, amiibo, etc. Return Deluxe really didn't catch on as a speed game, and even if it did, not many people are jazzed about running a 10+ hour long category, so the run just wound up taking longer due to other circumstances. Return Deluxe is, if nothing else, unique for being the longest main series speed game. Yep, as you're right, the next 2 games belong to spin-offs, and the first of those 2 spin-offs is, oh boy, number 2. Yeah, sorry, number 2. Kirby Battle Royale, 100% world record by Sokino, 12 hours, 17 minutes, 34 seconds. If you're at all familiar with this channel, you know how much I adore Kirby Battle Royale. Do I adore it enough to play it for over half a day, though? Yeah, why not? Well, any percent needs some explaining to understand what it specifically entails, that being clear the story mode. Hundo is remarkably easy to process. Unlock every medal in the game. I'm not going into every medal in this video, although if Battle Royale ever catches on again somehow, I'd be more than happy to make a video on that. The big time sinks come from medals that you get by winning 20 times with an ability. On the bright side, Mirror and Sleep don't count since they're DLC, but on the downside, Mirror and Sleep don't count. No. But yeah, all of these other abilities, Tornado, Bomb, Sword, Whip, Parasol, other characters like Dedede, you need to win 20 battles with each. Thankfully, every ability and character feels so distinct in Battle Royale that the repetition comes less from playing the game, but more so playing the game for over 12 hours. There are other things like clearing the story mode and unlocking music and headgear, but those are things that you're going to complete along the way regardless. They still take time by all means, but it's not like they're adding much to that ticking timer, so to speak. Similar to what we talked about with Air Ride though, the variety you get in this run is part of what helps make it all so fun. Air Ride was also nearly half the length, but what can you do? Work with me here? Then maybe make a 20% category or something and just stick to these missions? I don't know, just play Battle Royale, please! I love this game so much. The game's specific medals also deserve some mention for being brutal. Multiplayer and online aren't allowed at all, so getting some clears like 80 points in Or Express or being the only one to launch in Rocket Rumble, they can be tough. Once you have all the strats down though, they're thankfully not that bad, and similar to Merry Magoland 100 missions, who cares if you lose? You gotta win 20 times with every ability anyway. It's a very forgiving speedrun, which gives it some good accessibility, even if it takes half a day. So do you want to guess how long number 1 is? 13 hours? Cute. You're cute. 14 hours? No, try again. 15 hours? 16 hours? And getting warmer. 17 hours? Almost there. 18 hours? Still just a little bit more. Number 1. Kirby's Dream Buffet. 100% world record by Shiro Kirby. 18 hours, 33 minutes, 15 seconds. Let me repeat that. 18 hours, 33 minutes, 15 seconds. All for the goofy game where Kirby gets chunky and Yellow Kirby goes, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I hope that's Yellow Kirby. I don't have the footage recorded yet. For all I know, it could be like mint or chocolate or Kine and ribbon. What makes Kirby's Dream Buffet take so long? There's no any percent. Really not sure how any percent would work. So it would be hundo, right? Yeah, sure, this game has a lot to unlock, but you get such a good multiplier by being online that it really shouldn't take that Huh? Online is banned? Yep, as is the case with most speedruns, since online is a temporary thing, it is banned entirely for the sake of fairness and longevity. If there was a subcategory that allowed online, this would still be a crazy long run, but 18 hours? No way. There's actually another run on speedrun.com that totaled over 24 hours. Yes, this person played Dream Buffet for a full day and still hadn't hundoed it. There are certainly other Kirby games that give Dream Buffet a run for its money. The Kirby Clash games, if you go for a full 100%, or Fighters 2 full hundo, multi-game run, stuff like that. But Dream Buffet is the only one that's one single game that actually has a submitted time on speedrun.com at the time of recording over 18 hours. Like I said before, this could change in the future, but for now, it stands. Actually, looking at a full main series Kirby game speedrun, that only clocks in at 18 hours and 5 minutes. Yeah, I know, only, but still. Dream Buffet takes longer to hundo than every main series Kirby combined to 80%. That's insane! And what do you do throughout the speedrun? You do races. Over and over. For 18 hours. This game is great, but doing all that alone? Well, let's wrap up the video. That was a mouthful. I guess this wasn't a terribly long video. Not as long as these speedruns are, at least. Tee-hee! But don't let the long run jokes lead you into believing that literally any of these runs are bad, or tedious, or not worth doing. They're all really fun, and while the length makes them less popular, actually seeing one in action is astonishing. These runs do an even better job of showcasing the artsmanship and dedication to the craft of speedrunning than shorter runs do, or at least I would say. Also, listen, I know I talked about this run already, but just give it to me. Air Ride, all tracks, all rides. It's like, that's the coolest category ever. And if this video does nothing else, please let it make that category more popular. Where else are you gonna see hot garbage like the Bulk Star in a speedrun? Oh